Okay, should be recording. Yep, mine says it's recording. Hello, everyone. My name is Miranda, and I am your instructor this summer for Aspie Bootcamp Python. This course, we're going to be introducing you to the programming language Python, whether you have experience with that already or whether you are starting from nothing. So that is totally fine. I'm super excited to be kicking this off for the next 10 weeks. Thank you so much for joining. We do have several helpers with us today. Brendan, who I was just talking with, is one of those. Brendan is very helpful. And then we also have a couple others that are listed in our syllabus as well. So thank you so much to our TAs who are here. They will be helping me answer your questions in the chat as well as the Discord. First of all, let's go ahead and get into just a little bit about me. So I am an autism self-advocate. That means I am on the autism spectrum. I was diagnosed, I think when I was 20 or 21, so I was still in college. Right now, I am a senior data scientist at Vanderbilt University's Data Science Institute. I teach classes there for our graduate program, lead workshops, and do data science research. So I use Python a lot. Previously, I worked at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. That is where this photo is from. But I was also wearing my Vanderbilt hoodie from when I graduated. So kind of funny, I have both of my workplaces in that picture right there. So anyway, I just wanted to give you a little bit of information about me so that you can know my background and myself a little bit better. I always like to say I never programmed before I went to college. I learned from not even in an official class. I learned from from a TA for another computer science class. But anyway, now I program every day. I love it a lot. And we really wanted to start this course for autistic or just in general neurodivergent individuals, because we think it's a really great hobby or even, work skill to have. And we think it fits nicely with the neurodivergent population just in general. So we wanted to offer this course. So just to get this out of the way, here are the rules. I'll show this slide every class, but during class, do stay muted if you're not speaking. That's to minimize any noise that might be going on behind you. So stay muted if you're not speaking. And then if you want to say something, please do use the raise hand button. So hopefully everyone can find that. For me, it is under, oh, it's moved. Okay, so this is an exercise in finding it. All right, for me, it's under reactions. And so if you need help with that, just put in the chat, I need help raising my hand or something. One of our TAs can help you. And you can also type your question. So anyway, use the raise hand button to ask a question. This is very important. It is because sometimes during class, we have a lot of people that are very excited. If multiple people unmute and start talking, I don't know who is talking. I can't understand what's happening. So please, for me and for our other classmates, so that you don't disrupt everyone, use that raise hand button before you, and then I'll call on you and then you can unmute. If it's a problem, we'll have to deal with that later. But as long as we can all agree to that, I think we'll be good. You're also welcome to type questions in the chat or Discord. I will be giving you that link soon. I don't think I've sent out that link yet, so you will get that shortly. And sometimes I may ask you to participate in class-wide questions or polls. These will show up on your Zoom screen. So if I say something like there's a poll, or I ask you to put like a thumbs up in the chat, you can either use a thumbs up in that chat as an emoji, or you can do a reaction like thumbs up or something. And so that's what I will be talking about there. So I may ask for some of your participation, but always, video is completely optional. If you want to have your video on, you're welcome to, but you don't have to. We want to be inclusive to everyone here. So those are the in-class rules. So type questions into the chat or Discord. TAs will get back to you on those, or use the raise hand button and I can ask you to unmute. So those are just some during class etiquette rules. Outside class, feel free to ask me or our TAs or Jess on here. Jess, hello. Hi. I didn't see you in the thing yet. Great to see you. So Jess is our class coordinator. She's wonderful. So me, Jess, or the TAs can answer your questions via email or Discord. You can look at the syllabus. We'll look over the syllabus too, for you to be able to see who you can contact and for what reason. Also,
Miranda,
feel free to
can I
connect.
jump? Oh, sorry.
Yes, please
I
do.
was just going to say, yeah, if anyone has any kind of like technical questions or anything going wrong on that end, please feel free to reach out to me because Miranda gets overwhelmed with emails and such. So I'm going to put my email in the chat here. I can also answer your Python questions, probably not to the same degree as Miranda can, but I know enough.
Yeah,
So
oh,
I
I'm
may
sure
pop
it'll be
in the
fine. I'm
chat
sure
from
it'll be
time to
fine.
time.
Yes, yes, yes. And we also have our TAs as well, who I do have them listed in the syllabus too. So we'll get that too. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jess. And yes, so contact me, Jess, or our TAs. We'll look at that on the syllabus, connect with other students, and have fun with these assignments with this class. This is not meant as something to stress anyone out. I know some people like to have deadlines because it keeps them on top of things. So if that's you, then yes, complete your assignment every week if that motivates you. If that stresses you out and makes you unable to do anything, don't worry about it, this is not a graded class. This is a community class. We're really here to help you build your coding skills, but also let you meet other people who are neurodivergent in some ways. So we're really about creating community and having fun learning Python. Okay, so syllabus. Let's take a look at that real quick. I did send out a link to the syllabus in that initial email that you got for the acceptance. So please go back to that and find it. If someone has it and wants to put it in the chat, you're welcome to do that as well. So this is our syllabus. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you because that's always boring when people do that. But you can see we've got my contact information on there. I'll put Jess's contact information on there too. Here are our teaching assistants. And I did get all of this information out very late. So thank you so much to the teaching assistants that could be here with us today. We've got Brendan, Christopher, and Matthew. We may add more over the summer as we hear back from different people or as availabilities change. So do keep an eye out for them, and they will be they're always very, very helpful for answering questions. This is where you can get all of the things you need. If you need links to the Google Drive where the slides will be, if you need links to the YouTube channel, if you need a link to Google Colab, Replit, Free Code Camp, all of that will be here. And then an approximate schedule for what we'll be learning about each week, as well as a frequently asked questions list, because as Jess says, I do get overwhelmed by emails sometimes. So I did make a small FAQ. And so please do check that, if you have a question that is one of the more common ones, like if you need to miss class or, stuff like that. All right. So that's the syllabus. Get back to the slides here. So that's the syllabus. Do check that for anything course related that you might need. We'll also be using a couple other things. Replit, that is repl.it. We're going to be using that for writing and running our Python scripts. New this summer, we're also going to be using Google Colab. I added that. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but that is another way to write Python code, but this time in what is called a notebook format. I wanted you guys to have experience with both of those. And then Discord, completely optional, but you're welcome to join. This is an all adult class plus students who are 16 and older with parent permission. So adults and older high school students, please do keep that in mind. And also be polite to each other. So I did put in some permissions there on Discord. I think you have to accept our rules now, which is very exciting. So do be nice to each other, but also, connect with each other, get to know each other. And then if you are new to Python, or maybe you just want some extra practice, I highly recommend Free Code Camp, which I have linked here. They have, I think, 3 classes on Python. They're all self-led. They're in short video format with little multiple choice questions at the end. That is a great place to get extra practice with Python in general, but also the topics we'll talk about. Usually, if I know that Free Code Camp has a chapter on something, I will link that, but you can probably just assume they'll have a chapter on whatever we're talking about. Okay, and now, how this course is different from other boot camps. You may hear the term boot camp. I personally think that's a little scary name. Makes it sound like it's going to be super strict and everything, and we're going to be coding 24/7. But we're really just going to meet once a week, talk about Python, try out some exercises together. This course is made by neurodivergent people for neurodivergent people. Most of the people here are neurodivergent, although we don't require you to state whether you are. So if you don't want to say, you definitely don't have to. But just know that even if you're not neurodivergent, this is a neurodivergent friendly space. We're welcoming of everyone here, all identities, all abilities. We try to make this a super welcoming space. So please do keep that in mind. You can feel comfortable here, and also please do your best to make others feel comfortable as well. We try to focus on neurodivergent learning styles. So maybe you noticed in the participation agreement that I sent out, I do ask if you prefer to work alone or in groups. If I have assignments, I will pay attention to that if we're going to do in-class activities or something, which doesn't happen all the time. But if we do that, I do actually look at that and see who would rather just work by themselves and who wants to be placed in a group with people, and try to accommodate that. We also try to pay attention to any other accommodations you might need. If there is something that you need, please reach out to me or Jess. I'm pretty sure I do have captions enabled on this meeting, but if I don't, someone please let me know, and I can get those up.
I'm using them.
Okay, awesome, great. I'm super happy. That was hard to set up the first time.
It really is the first time, but yeah, they're working fine.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Jess. Yes, so there are captions on our video. You can enable those on Zoom. And if you need anything else, please just let me know as well. Like I said, welcoming environment for all. And if you want more information on who is running this program, or how you can get involved in more programs like this, please go to the Frist Center website, or talk to Jess. She is the Frist Center extraordinary person. I was trying to come up with an actual name, but I got
my
lost.
official job title.
Yeah, extraordinary person at the prison.
I am program and communications manager.
Okay, yeah, I forgot it. Okay, cool. Awesome. Program and communications manager. Extraordinary person, Jess. So what you can do after this course, our goals for this course, we hope that you'll be able to create original coding projects, whether for fun, for your resume, for school or work. You will be able to list Python as an experience on your resume. We're also working on, I believe, getting certificates for people that complete this. That is something that we've had requested for, that students have requested in the past. So we're gonna see if we can work out details on possibly getting a certificate. Stay tuned for that. We hope you will be able to expand your Python skills and even learn more programming languages if you're interested. If you try this out and it's your first programming language, and you think, oh, maybe I want to learn to do something else. We really hope this inspires you to keep learning and at least take that first step. Okay, so for today's class, we are going to be using Replit. So go ahead and have that, go ahead and log into your Replit account, and also Google Colab. We'll just be taking a quick look at both of those. Not sure how much into the weeds we'll actually go with both of those today. And Google Colab, I think you may not even need an account, but I do recommend it because it's a way you can save your work to your Google Drive. Now I'm going to check the chat to see if there's any questions that I missed. This is a good time to pause. And oh, someone boosted the Discord server. Amazing, thank you. So this is a good time to pause and see if anyone has questions, concerns, or just general comments about the class. And yes, you can use your Google account in Replit. That is I think when you log in, you can just hit Google account. Awesome. Looks like all the questions in chat have been addressed. Thank you so much to my TAs and Jess. All right. Let me take a sip of my tea. Let's go ahead and get started then. Link to the Discord is in the syllabus.
I will also put it in the chat.
Amazing.
There we go.
And do go ahead and join. If you're interested in joining Discord, go ahead and join. I think you maybe need an account for 5 minutes is the new rule. I'm not really sure. but that link will expire in a week and then I'll have to make a new one. I do that so that random people cannot join our Discord because we don't want random people in our Discord. We just want people from our class. Awesome. Okay, so we are going to open up our class. We're just going to dive right in with a discussion of what is called CLI versus GUI. So what are these weird letters that Miranda's putting on the screen? Well, GUI stands for Graphical User Interface. Some of you may already be familiar with this concept, but stay with me because not everyone has that experience. GUI, Graphical User Interface, is a term we use whenever you're on a computer and you're using a mouse or a keyboard to interact with graphics on the computer screen. Whereas a command line interface is where you're typing commands directly to a computer. So you all right now are experiencing one of these. You're experiencing a GUI. You're using your mouse to navigate around your computer and then opening Zoom. Unless on the off chance someone is using like DOS or something to log in. I don't even know if you can. To Zoom and getting a bunch of, I don't know, ones and zeros. But most likely all of you are using some sort of graphical user interface. To join Zoom, you're using a mouse to interact with all of these buttons. Whenever you see buttons, that's a GUI. And it's a way that you're telling your computer what you want to do. Well, in programming, we are sometimes interested in GUI, but mostly we're going to be working with the CLI, the command line interface. And that is where you're typing commands directly to your computer. So when we talk about programming, we're talking about typing, what we want our computer to do. We'll also look at, where can you type these commands? Because you can actually do it on any computer. You just have to know where to go. So here's an example of the Windows, I think the last Windows GUI. Here's the Windows menu. You can click on any of these buttons here, and this will take you to OneNote or Photos or Mail. You have everything you need for your computer on this screen. Whereas with a CLI, this is an example of a command line interface where you are typing commands into your computer. So you read this kind of like a list, you go down. So this is one command that someone typed and then the computer responded. This is another command, the computer responds. And this is another command. So anyway, most of us are not interacting like that with our computers for daily use, but we're going to learn about how to use that for programming because it is a very efficient way of getting your computer to do what you want. And it's also the foundation of programming in itself. So like I said, very important for programmers to use. You can access this on your computer, but to make sure everyone has a different computer. So to make sure that we're all using the same interface, we're saying mostly the same thing, we are going to be using Replit for most of the CLI on this. And so if you click that link here, it'll take you to Replit. We'll talk a little bit about that in a bit, but this is an example of what it looks like. We'll be able to access the command line from here. This is also where we're going to be writing Python code. I will explain how all of those things interrelate momentarily. All right, and just as a reminder, please do feel free to raise your hand to ask questions at any point in time. I just ask that you raise your hand or you type your question in the chat or the Discord. There is a channel in the Discord for in-class questions or something like that that you can use. I'm not monitoring the Discord, but the TAs are. All right, amazing. Great. So file structures and paths. So your computer organizes your files into directories. And like I said, some of you may already know this and some of you may not. That's okay. So, but maybe you are saving some sort of document into a folder, right? These can be located using what's called a path. This is like an address for where that file is saved. So an example is my computer /documents/myfile.txt, right? And so this is an example of the file explorer showing this PC, documents, Aspie Bootcamp, my folder. In a GUI, you're clicking into these different folders. So when you open your file explorer, you can go to documents, you click on that, and you're presented with your documents. You can then navigate to different folders, right? You're clicking in a GUI. In a CLI, though, you're actually going to pay attention to what this path, what this address is for your file, and you're going to manually type that in. So this is actually the path here. So c/users/Miranda/documents/Aspie Bootcamp. If I wanted to navigate there, I would actually need to type out that whole path. Or if I was writing a program that accesses a file somewhere, I will need to know that file's exact location on my computer, type that into my program. So this is how we're letting computers know where the files are. Otherwise, they would all just be dumped in one big area, and it would take a long time for the computer to go down each one and like name match what file you're looking for. So this is, how your computer organizes information. And I'm going quickly through this because I think most people are familiar with it, but if you're not, feel free to ask questions in the chat, or I can recommend, some good resources for learning more about how files are organized. We'll also talk a little bit about absolute path. I'm going to skip over this just a little bit. So an absolute path will start from the first directory, also called the root directory. That's when you see usually the C or some sort of letter here. Then it gives a huge long path all the way to the file. So it's like you start at the beginning, at the center of your computer, and then you go all the way to where that file is. A relative path, though, which is mostly what we'll be working with, will get you to the same place, but it's just a little easier to type. You represent where you currently are by a dot. You say, okay, this is my current location. From here, I want you to go to the folder Aspie Bootcamp. So it's kind of the difference between telling someone how to get to Vanderbilt from your house specifically versus how to get to Vanderbilt from I-65. So two different ways of giving directions. You can say, okay, go to I-65 and then do this, start at I-65. Or you can say, all right, turn left here and then right there and then left here. So just different ways of telling your computer what file you're trying to access. So like I said, I'm going just a little fast because I have found in the past most people don't like this beginning part. They want to get started with programming. But if you don't know this already, it's very important. So we're talking about command line interface. What are the commands within command line interface? Well, these are the instructions that you are giving to the computer via what we're going to call the terminal. It's usually what it's called. And then these are going to run relative to your current working directory. That's the directory you're currently in. So in this little graphic here, I am in this folder, Aspie Bootcamp. So if I were to run, in fact, I did is how I got here. When you open your terminal, sometimes it will show you where you are. That's where your commands are going to run. So if I sent a command saying access my _ folder, it could do that. But if I didn't have this folder available, I could not. Or if I was in documents and I said access my folder, it would not be able to do that because I need to first go to Aspie Bootcamp, right? And giving someone directions. And we'll see all of this in action if you're more of an applied person as well. So you'll see a couple basic command line commands. First, let me just show you what that command line is. So if you go to Replit, go ahead and click on, it doesn't really matter how you do this, but I'm going to click on Create REPL. Select Python just because we will eventually be using Python. Name it whatever you want. I'm going to say terminal practice. Create that REPL. The only reason I'm doing this is to show you the command line interface. So what you're going to do is click on shell here. Open your terminal, click on shell. I'm going to minimize this because I don't need it. So remember I said we would be typing commands. So one example of a command is print working directory, pwd. These commands are case sensitive. You have to type them exactly how they appear, how the computer wants them. So go ahead and type pwd and press enter and see what happens. So I'm going to wait a bit for everyone to get logged in. So if you have logged into Replit, you have access the shell in some way, either you are using a current project or you created a new one, and you're able to type this command, then go ahead and give a thumbs up or a smiley face or something to indicate that you have done so. Otherwise, if you're having trouble, give a red X of some sort or a thumbs down, some sort of, give a red X if you need help, and one of our TAs can reach out to you in the chat. All right, I am seeing trying to get out of full screen so I can see everyone. I am seeing some thumbs up. Andrew, is that a hand up for a question or a thumbs up? Might have been a thumbs up, which is totally fine.
Hands up for a question.
Okay, awesome. What's your question?
Go through
So
when I go through red,
when I go for Replit,
I don't see where to type it in.
I don't see where to type it in.
So have you created this new project here?
I did not.
Okay, so you need to, so you go to Replit, you log in, create REPL.
Where do you go?
You created it. I said I just logged in, but I don't see it.
I logged in, I don't see it.
Okay, why don't you just follow along for now and we can, cool. Why don't we just follow along for now and then we can try to troubleshoot afterwards.
All right.
Thank you. And we'll have this recording up as well, so you can follow along later as well once you have it figured out. So for everyone, if you're still struggling, go to replit.com. You can click on this blue button that says create REPL. There's also another one over here. Create. You're gonna, it doesn't really matter what you decide here. You're gonna choose Python and then name, then create again. So I have mine already up. And this is an example of the terminal. You're going to click on what this says shell, and it has a little shell picture. This is the terminal or the shell. All right, so select shell, and then type pwd. So if you selected a Python project, you should have shell. If you don't for now, then we will troubleshoot that later. And you can also watch the videos. It's not super important for right now. Okay. Yes, thank you for everyone helping out. So right now this is mostly for illustrative purposes, but we can interact with the command line here by typing out these commands. And once you type it and then press enter, it is going to give you the result of that command. So in this one, I did pwd, which stands for print working directory. And then it says home/runner/terminal practice. So recall that I named my project terminal practice. Home/runner is just what Replit does on their end. Usually all projects will be in that directory there. So this is telling me that I am in home/runner/terminal practice. All right, thank you so much for everyone helping in the chat. And recall that you can just watch me for now and also follow along in the recordings later as well. Awesome, awesome. So this was just to show you the terminal here. So let's talk a little bit about what can you type into these commands, because you know I can't just type hello. It's not going to know what that is. Command not installed. Okay, so actually that is a command. But it says you need to install it or something. So you can't just type whatever you want. The computer does not understand normal human language. We had to assign specific operations to named commands for the computer to know what we're talking about. So some basic command line interface commands. We have pwd print working directory. This is going to print where you're located in your file system. So, you know, are you in documents? Are you in documents/my folder or something? This is how you can say, hey, where am I right now? Instead of opening your GUI file directory, right, that you normally click through, you can type that in to your command line interface. If you want to move to a different folder to change directory, you're going to type cd, change to another folder/directory. Make a directory, you type mkdir. That will allow you to make a new directory. And then ls, or list, will list all the files and directories in your location. So in the past, I have spent a bit more time on these command line interface commands because they are important. But I think I do want to focus a bit more on Python this summer. So I'm not going to give you an assignment where you need these command line interface commands, but I want you to have these in case you ever encounter the command line. So if we encounter the command line, we'll do it a little bit, but we're not going to do full-on assignments for it. Okay, so let me show you a quick example. Checking in the chat, I see people are awesome. Thank you so much for everyone that's helping. I appreciate it. If you're sending messages in the Discord, make sure don't send them privately to me because I won't be able to see it any faster than my TAs will see it. All right. So let's look on here for an example. So this is kind of what it looks like in Replit, and how you're going to read this is that this is where I started. So up here I typed pwd and it said home/runner. Now I typed ls, remember list, I have them all listed here. ls will list all the files in a directory. So you can type ls and it'll say, oh, you have these files here, Aspie Bootcamp Python and testrunner.py. Yours will have something different because we're on different machines here. We're on different projects within Replit, so your files will look a little different. You may have a different project name. You may have different files within your project. Now, let's say I want to change directories, cd. I want to change directories to this other folder here. This is a folder called Aspie Bootcamp Python. I know that I'm in home/runner. I listed all of the files and directories within home/runner, and it said from here you can get to Aspie Bootcamp Python or testrunner.py. Change directory to Aspie Bootcamp Python, and now notice this used to be a little squiggly. This squiggly usually represents your home directory, your root where you start out each time, your home directory. Now it's squiggly / Aspie Bootcamp Python, indicating that we have changed, we have moved into a new folder, a new directory. And now if I type ls, we're in a new folder, so there are new things inside of that folder. We have main.py, something called readme, another directory called test. How can you tell the difference between files and directories? You can look at, usually files will have a dot and then some letters afterwards, so .py or .md. Directories will not. They won't have that dot after them. That's called the extension. That's just for a file. So this is a directory. Now I want to make a new directory, and I give it the name my directory. Now when I type list after I've made that directory, I have a new directory here. Okay. Yes, and one thing that's important to know is that you need to make sure that these are, these are case sensitive. You have to type exactly what the command is expecting, or else it will not work. So let me show you this. Like I said, I'm gonna show you this. We're not gonna get to the more complicated examples, but just to show you for practice. And then this will all tie back to Python. Okay, so I'm gonna clear this. I'm back in the show. I'm back in the Replit show. So first I'm going to type pwd, print working directory. All right, now someone tell me in the chat, go ahead and put in the chat, based on the slides that we looked at so far, what should I type if I want to see what other files and directories are in the directory I'm currently in? What command do I need to type to list everything in the directory? Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. I love this interaction. Great. Yes, so we're going to type ls to see what all is in that directory. And it says, all right, you've got a file named main.py. You have a file named poetry.lock. You have a file named pyproject.toml. For our replets, you'll usually see these. Don't worry about those. Okay, so we've got main.py there. Now, what do I type if I want to what do I type if I want to make a new directory? I want to make a new directory, called like new directory or something, my folder. Yeah, amazing. Yes, I love this. So people are typing mkdir, that stands for make directory. And then some people even added, the folder name afterwards, which is completely correct. Thank you so much for your participation. Great job, everyone. So we're going to type mkdir make directory space, and then whatever that name is going to be. So I'm going to say, I'm going to call it my new directory. You can name this whatever you want. So make directory space, the name of your new directory. Now I press enter. All right, and now when I press ls, when I say list everything in this directory, remember we're still in terminal practice, now our new directory has showed up. One thing that is great about Replit is that it's actually going to highlight folders in blue. So I know that this is a folder now. It's a folder that I just created. And now, final test, what do I type if I want to move into my new directory? Go ahead and put it in the chat. Yes, thank you so much. I love this. Y'all are so active. I love it. So I'm going to type CD, and then I'm going to type my new directory. So CD for change directory to my new directory, and press enter. And now notice here, squiggle, it has changed to terminal practice / my new directory, indicating that we have successfully moved to that new one. So now if I say ls here, remember I created the directory, but I didn't do anything with it. It's empty right now. So if I type ls, it has nothing to show me. So it doesn't list anything. It lists nothing. The terminal is very literal here. So if you say list everything in the directory and there's nothing in the directory, it's not going to say, oh, there's nothing here. It's just going to say, okay, I've listed everything. Everything was nothing. So say ls within an empty directory, it's going to show you with nothing. Awesome. Thank you. Okay. Oh, great question here. I just happened to catch it. If you accidentally make a directory in the wrong place, can you move it? Yes, you can move your directory. So in the you are thinking ahead. We've got this next slide here, which has some more commands if you're interested. So you can use mv to move a directory. You can also use cp to copy it. How you use these is you say mv, the name of your file, and then where you would like to, or directory, and then where you would like to move it. So we're not going to get too much into the details of that, but if you're interested, you can read on these, on more of these command line commands. Okay, so are there questions so far? We really went through that. I know that was fast. For those of you that already know this, you're probably like, it's totally fine. But for those of you where this is completely new, I know it's like a new way of thinking about your computer. And that is totally okay. If this was really, really fast for you. Like I said, we've got the recordings. You can always reach out to a TA on Discord for extra help with this, and I encourage you to do so. I'm not going to be testing you on this or anything, but I did want to expose you to it because you will see command line while we interact with Python. You will see it. So I didn't want you to be too afraid of something you've never seen before. Now we've all seen it, so we won't be afraid. And we'll know that these are command line. But if you're interested, I love working with the terminal. And if you enjoyed that little back and forth there just as much as I did, then I encourage you to look at some of these other commands. And then also there's a very nice command cheat sheet if you want to try practicing and try to do more with that. So I'm going to pause here and see if we have any questions. All right. All right. Okay, we've got some computer jokesters in there. I love it. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue on. So that was just a brief introduction to command line interface. We're not going to do it again for the rest of the summer, but if you intend to have a career or a class in programming, you will need to learn it. And that's something that you can do pretty quickly. Use this command cheat sheet. You won't need a whole class on it. You just need to know how to interact with your terminal in that way. And the reason that we have something, like say, Miranda, why would I ever type CD to change a directory or LS to list a directory when I have this nice file explorer that gives me everything in a nice little GUI and I can click on it? Well, it's very nice to have a GUI that you can click on and see things, but it's also very, very slow comparatively. So what the command line interface allows us to do is to run programs and edit files in what we're going to call a programmatic way. That means that it's going to do things in the order that we tell it to, exactly how we do it. And actually, if you get really good at these kinds of commands in the terminal, you can do things much, much, much faster than you can in the graphic user interface. So that's the terminal. We will be seeing it in the future, but we won't necessarily be always interacting with it. Okay, so we're not, if you want, this is optional. I'm going to put optional on this. This is from last year, like I said, because we had a little bit more time. Okay, so this is optional. If you enjoyed that and you would like to try it out some more, you can do this to practice commands in Replit. And then feel free to reach out to others on the Discord if you tried this with your solution or if you got stuck. It's a fun task to do with the Discord. Okay, so we've talked a lot about these commands and I talked a lot about change directory, directories, files, all of that, and they're nice. Interacting with your computer is nice on commands, but what if we want to give our computer more complicated instructions? Oh, Sam, did you have a question? Go ahead and unmute.
How exactly do you use the CD command to go to the root?
Yes. So I'm just going to answer that really quick. So that's a good question. So you can just do CD and that will take you to the root.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. So if anyone was wondering what Sam was asking, so we started out in this directory, but how do we get to just this tilde thing? You could just type CD, it'll take you all the way to the root. Good question, good question. Yep, you could also do CD, I think you could do CD tilde. Try it out. The great thing about programming is if you think you have a solution, but you're not sure if it works, you just try it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, that's okay. Awesome, thank you. Okay, so these kind of commands like CD, change directory, go back to the root directory, they're nice, but sometimes we want to give our computer more complicated instructions than just making folders and navigating to a folder and doing stuff. Sometimes we want it to do science or math or natural language processing, and that's harder to do with just single commands in the command line. Other times, maybe we want to save the instructions that we gave it. Maybe we had a series of commands that we gave our computer and it was like a lot of stuff we had to type out one by one. Maybe we want to save those and then rerun it again sometime. So maybe you have some process, like I have a process going that takes whenever y'all filled out the participation agreement form, and I mean, this is a really simple example because I used Google Docs, but anyway, whenever one of y'all fills out the participation agreement and puts your email in there, it will add your email to my list of people that I need to email for this course, right? That's why I asked you to fill it out, because then I have your email to use for the course. So what if I wanted to, instead of just doing that every time, if that was, let's say that was a set of command line commands, what if instead of just doing that once for every person, I say, oh, save these instructions, and now run that command every time someone submits this form. What if we want to save our instructions that we gave to the computer and then run them several times later or wherever? Another thing is, what if we want to give instructions to our computer in a more understandable, human readable is a term we'll say, understandable, human readable way. So since we're all speaking English here, or I'm speaking English, I want it to be in more of an English-like way. And CD, if you don't know any programming, CD, MKDIR, PWD, these are just letters, right? They're not really readable to someone not familiar with them. So what if we want to give instructions that are more readable? Programming. The answer is programming. Programming saves the day. So this is where we as humans, we're like, we need to invent some way to give our computers more complicated instructions, to save those instructions and run them whenever we want. But we also want to invent some way of talking to our computer, some language that is more readable to people instead of just, that terminal language that we were using before. And we have programming now. So in this case, we have just made ourselves a case for learning programming. All right. So programming is using a structured language to give instructions to a computer. Structured language means that, much like the terminal, it has very specific commands. But the language part of that means that you can kind of construct your own commands from a basic set of smaller ones. We'll see what I mean by that in a bit. But it's a structured language that allows you to give instructions to a computer. These instructions that I'm talking about will be written to a file. When I say written to a file, that means saved. That means you're typing into a file. We usually say, as programmers, sometimes this is confusing, we say write or we say written when we mean save. So these instructions are saved or written to a file. And then there are many programming languages to choose from. The one we're going to be using is Python. Of course, hopefully you knew that because the course is called Python. There's many programming languages to choose from, but in this class, we're going to be learning Python. Why? Well, it is beginner friendly. If you've never coded before, this is a great place to start. Python is where I started my programming journey. It's easy to read. Python reads a lot easier than other programming languages. It's very similar to English. And it's really great for scientific and mathematics applications. Python is what I use most every day as a data scientist. I'm doing a lot of research in scientific areas and the humanities and a lot of different areas, but what they all have in common is they're all using Python. So great way to start if you're interested in data science or programming for problem solving in science, math, whatever. So that is some of the reasons why we start everyone out on Python. How do you access it? So Python itself is you can think of it as a software, right? So just like Microsoft Word, you can't use Microsoft Word if you haven't already downloaded Microsoft Word, or you don't have a computer that can run Microsoft Word. So you're going to write Python code in what is called an IDE, an integrated development environment. This is just something that allows you to write or run code in Python. So like Microsoft Word allows you to write documents, or like PowerPoint allows you to write presentation slides, an IDE is a software that allows you to write files for a specific programming language. In this case, we're going to be talking about Python. And now this IDE, this software that allows you to write these programs, can be on your local machine, I mean your personal computer that you're using right now. In that case, you would download it somewhere. You would download it to your computer. Or it would be on the cloud somewhere, which basically on the cloud, all that means is someone else's computer. That means Google's computer, that means Replit's computer, and someone else's computer that they're letting you borrow over the internet to use their resources, right? So something you're accessing usually via the internet. For a local software, like I said, you'll need to download Python. But if you're using a cloud service like we will be in this class, so for this class, you don't need to download Python. You can if you're interested. But for this class, we will be using Replit and Colab, which are cloud services that already have Python installed, so we don't need to do any of that setup there. So that's how you can access Python. We will use a cloud service called Replit. Okay, so here's Replit. We looked at it a little bit. You got a little bit of experience with it. What you can do here, log into Replit. You'll see these blue buttons. That's usually what you want to click on. Blue buttons, create REPL, create REPL. That's how we created our file. This is a free online tool. Don't pay for anything in this class. If something has a subscription tier, please don't pay for it. It's a free tool for writing, accessing, and running your code scripts. We're going to be using that a lot. Like I said, we'll also be using Google Colab, but I will talk about that a little bit later. So like we did before, you're going to create a REPL, just start a new file and then select your programming language. So just like before, after you hit that create, it's going to ask you for a template. Select Python. Type in whatever title you want. It gives you a randomized kind of funny title to begin with. And then you're just going to hit create REPL. Okay, now I'm going to pause, move to my other slides just for a little bit. All right, just checking. So I broke this up into 2 slide decks. So we looked at Replit. All right. Any questions so far? I know we're near the end. I'm going to wrap it up pretty soon. Thank you to our TAs for answering those questions in the chat. Okay, so now all of 50 minutes into our Python intro, we are finally ready. We are finally ready to learn about Python. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, like I said, you're going to write that inside a file or a notebook. We'll see that soon. Code in this file is separated by spaces, and this is Python specific. So code is separated by spaces. This means lines, tab, single space. Just like words in a document are separated by lines, tabs, and single spaces, Python interprets these spaces. So 3 spaces, we'll see it, we'll see. You separate everything line by line, and also using tabs occasionally. We'll learn when to apply that. And then when you run your code, this computer is going to execute the instructions from the file line by line. So I'll show you an example of that. So this is my notebook or my Replit file that I created last year. How you can read this is see, it's called main.py. That's the name of my file here. You don't need to create this, I'm just showing it. And when I hit this run button, it's going to go line by line and execute each command that I have on that line. So you don't have to know what this means yet, but this first line is going to say, okay, def main. Next line is empty. That's just for readability. Next line, look at this. Notice that there's a space here. That's very intentional. You need to have a space there in this case. And it's going to run this line. The next line, notice the spacing again. This is what I mean when I say that it's separated by lines and spaces. So each command on a separate line occasionally will indent. Don't worry about indenting just yet. So, and now I'm going to run this. It's going to run my code. Oh, and now it's printing out some numbers. Okay, that's pretty cool. So that's what this code does. You don't have to know specifically what this means yet, but just know that when you have a Python file, the computer's going to run each command 1 line at a time. All right. Now, Python notebooks. This is different from Replit. So we'll be working with Replit, but I also want to expose you to Python notebooks. This is a document that allows for runnable code and also user-friendly text all in one file. So with a Python document, a .py file, this is all you have. You have this, and this is where your code is. But what's nice about a notebook is it looks like this. So if you go to that link that I sent you for Colab, it's colab.research.google.com. This will take you to a Python notebook. What's nice about these is that you can add different cells that are for text or for code. So they have their intro one here. You just kind of scroll down and see what is Colab. Look at this getting started if you're interested in it. I'll show you more concretely how to use it, but I want to go ahead and give you this. Go ahead and try it out. But why I wanted to show you this is I saw a question in the chat that was asking about, you know, should I take my notes on pen and paper? How should I take notes? I find that these notebooks are a great way for taking notes because you can type You can type in here, you can put code in here, you can put anything in here. So it's a really great note-taking tool for code specifically. And like I said, I'll show you more of an applied way of working with notebooks. Okay, let's see. Yes, Markdown. Markdown is very related. So the text part is the Markdown. Yep, just like Jess said. Okay. Awesome, just checking if we have any questions. I know this is a lot of information on the first day. Okay, so I introduced you to the tools we'll be using. We'll be using Replit, we'll be using Colab. Let's talk a little bit about Python syntax. This is, how do we actually type in Python? So all languages have a syntax. English has syntax. Maybe you have taken an English class or any language class, learned about syntax, how to structure your sentences. Just like you have to structure sentences in English to make them make sense to someone else. You have to structure your programs, your commands to the computer to make them make sense, right? So this is called syntax. And Python syntax includes, words, phrases that Python recognizes as commands. These are built in. Python already knows them. So one example that we're going to use today in this last couple of minutes of class is print. This is our very first Python command. Yay! So this command is print. This is going to take whatever is inside these parentheses. Notice these parentheses here. You're going to put something inside the parentheses, and whatever is inside it, it will print it to the console for us. The console is kind of like the shell that we were working with earlier. So print is going to take whatever is inside the parentheses and print it to the console. So let's just jump right in. Let's get started. Python already knows numbers, mathematical operations, and you can also combine numbers and symbols to perform these operations. So you can say print 1 plus 3. Let's try it out. So go ahead, open Replit. You can use what we opened before, or you can create a new project, whatever you'd like. Go to this main.py file here. And now I'm going to type print 1 plus 3, or whatever you would like. Print, open parentheses, close parentheses. The parentheses are very important. Print, and then 1 plus 3. Print, and then 1 plus 3. Okay, and now if I hit this green run button, it's going to run, and notice over here, this is where our console is. Like I was saying, we hit run, and it printed 4. Amazing. Great. Run. It prints 4 again. All right, now let's try. I'm going to erase this and just say print 10, the number 10. It's going to print number 10 there. So this is your very first Python command. Woohoo! So in this last minute, I just want you to get familiar with this print command. And I'm going to give you your assignment. So we have a couple more slides here on order of operations. Just know that Python does follow order of operations. I'll go over these next time. You should not need them for this assignment. Okay. Oh, just kidding. You do need it for the assignment. Okay. So one more thing that I want to share for you that is important, and we're going to go over just a little bit. My apologies on that. If you need to go, feel free. You can watch the recording. So sometimes we want to save that information. Sorry, I'm doubting myself. I don't want people to go over. Apologies for that whiplash there. I don't want to keep you too long. So we're just going to go over this next time. So this assignment will not be due next time. I'll put something in the Discord or email for you to practice with that print statement. Or if you already know some Python and want to go ahead and get started with this. But I do want to respect your time. Apologize for me changing my mind right on the spot there. I'm adjusting to a new time for this class. All right, 5 to 6. Okay, so I will send out an alternative assignment that goes over what we talked about today. If you want, you can do this one, but we'll also cover this one next week. So just to go over, we went over Replit, we went over Colab, we went over the basics of Python syntax and what that means. Thank you so much for attending today. I really appreciate you all being here. I'm happy to see you. I'll see you in the Discord, and I will also send out an email with some more information about just a summary of what we did today, just for those that could not make it. All right, see you all next time. I'm going to stop recording. Feel free to stay around a little bit if you do have questions or need to talk about something.